Hello, I'm Nigel Nicholson. I'm a professor of organizational behavior at London Business School, and I want to talk to you about gender and leadership and why people are not telling the true story, really, of why we have so few women in leadership positions. Let me explain. Let me start with the story, actually. I was at a cocktail party here at the school. It was a rather refined cocktail party, drinks and canapes, but rather stiff, rather formal, and most of the business leaders in the room were men. There were one or two women. And I got into conversation with one of the women, and I said, "Why are there not more women in the room?" And she looked at me candidly and arched an eyebrow and said, "Because they don't want to come in the room." And the more I thought about it, it's true. We've made leadership roles extremely unattractive. They are competitive, high pressure, demanding. You have to forego a lot of your personal life. You have to sacrifice yourself to the business. So we've made it unattractive even for a lot of men, but certainly for very many women as well, where a more cooperative model might actually be preferable. Now, it's not because women lack the qualities for leadership, but it is that we've created systems that are very discouraging to leadership. And the reason lies in our biology. And the explanation is dominance hierarchies. All mammals, almost all mammals, engage in some kind of competition for opportunities to increase their breeding opportunities or their wealth or whatever, their resources. And of course, in humans and in other primates, it's generally slugged out by the men in dominance hierarchies, the pecking order. Women play a part in this competition, but it's mainly a boys' game. And you could say what we've done is we've built organizations on the same principle. Now, if you think of your classic corporate hierarchy, what happens is you have a succession of tournaments that take place at different levels to see who rises and who falls. Now, we organize in this way for quite practical reasons, let it be said, because this is often a very efficient way of getting things done. But often we organize this way when it's not the most efficient way of getting things done. And why do we do so? Because it suits the games that men like to play in organizations. And the game is competitive hierarchy and dominance, to see who rises and who falls. You have a succession of tournaments until you get, and of course, then you fix onto this system, into this pyramid, you fix onto this system a set of false beliefs. And the false belief is the idea of merit and meritocracy. It's the idea that the person at the top is an alpha, the person at the next level is a beta, and so on, as you go down the organization. And we assume if we have a free market for competition and that this operates as it should do, that will be the outcome. Well, there's several things wrong with this argument. Number one is that you can't measure human beings on a single quality. We don't have a single merit rating. We're good at some things, we're bad at other things. Secondly, how good you are depends on what you're doing. I mean, it might be, you're terrific at stuff here, but once you get to here, you're not so terrific. So you can end up killing off the people you actually need at the top in the middle of your organization. Thirdly, people seem to only go up, nobody ever comes down. Now, I call this a false theory of meritocracy, but it's quite clear the best people are not always at the top. The best people are often buried in the middle, undiscovered. Or we don't have and indeed, a lot of women in this position look at the top and say, why would I want to play this game? Why would I want to go into this competitive hierarchy to rise to the top? So, in a sense, the glass ceiling is imposed by the desire of men to organize in ways that satisfy their motives for playing these games. Now, let me just add something else to this, because men understand this. Men know this is a game, and the man who's here knows the boss isn't really better than him most of the time. He thinks, well, I'm quite happy here, I'll sit here. I don't want to engage in a bloody contest. I'll bide my time and wait and see what happens. And I'll accept this person's authority until they fall off. I might undermine them a little bit, by the way. I might play a few political games in order to advance my interests. Now, women often tend to believe that this is the way things should be. They believe that, in other words, these persons should be better. They're much less cynical than men. They're much more idealistic. They would like to believe that these signals of merit are real. Carly Fiorina, in her book about her time at AT&T, says how shocked she is by the way in which men game the promotion system. And it's rather sad because she herself, suffers as a consequence of these games, and she wishes that there were a true meritocracy. But unfortunately, meritocracy will not always work. And indeed, this is not always the way, this kind of meritocracy won't always work. The right kind of meritocracy is we get people in positions that actually suit their capabilities. But that's a different kind of system altogether. And it may not be like this. It may be different models of organization. And increasingly, we are seeing firms who do organize in different ways, in ways that are more friendly for women to take leadership positions and for these games to have less dominance. But unfortunately, this is the world as we often see it out there in business. Well, if you want to read more about this and other ideas about leadership, have a look at my new book. It's called The Eye of Leadership: Strategies for Seeing, Being, and Doing. Thank you.